Traditionally for this French brand, the bodies of the 307th are galvanized, so there is no rust even on cars of the first years of production. Its presence, as a rule, indicates that the car was in an accident and was poorly repaired. Most of the cars operated in Ukraine are sold by official dealers of the brand. Almost all modifications of the 307 were offered to buyers. The only exception is, perhaps, the 3-door hatchback and diesel versions, and each of them can be found on our roads. The station wagon's wheelbase is 100 millimeters longer than the hatchbacks, meaning they're roomier inside, especially in the back. Many cars are richly equipped. The presence of airbags, electric mirrors and power windows, air conditioning, power steering, central locking, immobilizer, ABS and branded alloy wheels are the rule rather than the exception. Climate control and leather seats are also not uncommon. Problems are possible with leather upholstery. It is torn at the bottom of the backs of the front seats. In addition, loosening of the front seats in their guides was noted. After a run of 150,000 kilometers, the bearing of the air conditioning compressor often fails. Repair, about 750 UAH. Another weak point is the steering column switch block. As a rule, the turn switch fails. When the steering wheel returns to its original position after turning on the turn signal of one of the sides, the signal lights of the other side light up. The block is not repaired, and it has to be changed entirely. Spare part, about 1700 UAH. In addition, an open circuit in the driver's airbag connection may occur in this unit, which will be indicated by the airbag malfunction warning light on the instrument panel. In principle, the wiring is changed along with the switch block, although sometimes craftsmen manage to restore the part. Repair, about 500 UAH. Experts also advise to be careful when installing an alarm. Unskilled electricians often lay signaling wiring from the engine compartment into the car through a technological hole located on the left side of the car. In this case, the tightness of the hole is violated and moisture begins to enter the central switching unit, PPM, which controls the auxiliary electronics of the car. Ultimately, this puts it out of action. Spare part, about 3000 UAH. By the way, this brain of the 307th is programmable, thanks to which, for example, you can teach the radio to change the sound volume depending on the speed of the car, lock the central lock when a certain speed is reached, etc. When driving on country roads or conquering city curbs, the 307s often break off the plastic lip of the front bumper and mudguards. They are not elastic, they are made of plastic. Most of the 307s operated in Ukraine are equipped with gasoline units, although you can find HDI turbo diesels with a direct fuel injection system. According to Minders, their fuel equipment does not withstand the quality of our diesel fuel. Fuel injectors do not serve for a long time, one piece, about 2000 UAH. The low-pressure pump located in the tank wears out, and from it the wear products enter the expensive high-pressure fuel pump. For this reason, the pressure control valve is wedged. It is not cleaned, and a new one costs 1500 to 2500 UAH. If the fuel system is heavily clogged, then it is necessary to change not only the injection pump valve and the low-pressure pump, but also all fuel pipes. In this case, only about 5000 UAH will need to be spent on spare parts. In addition, on HDI motors, a failure of the attachment drive pulley was noted. After 80,000 kilometers, the damper clutch flies out in it, branded spare part, almost 900 UAH. Of the gasoline engines, the most problematic is the 1.4 liter. The cylinder head gasket often loses its tightness in it, from under which oil begins to flow. Spare part, about 100 UAH. Work, 550 UAH. A clogged idle speed controller was also noted, which manifests itself in unstable engine operation. This is the only motor that is not equipped with hydraulic lifters, so every 70 to 80,000 kilometers, when replacing the timing belt and rollers, it is necessary to adjust the thermal clearances of the valves. Yes, and this engine is rather weak for a car weighing over 1 ton, so its resource is lower than that of other units. Engines of 1.6 and 2.0 liters prove to be excellent. True, sometimes in 2.0-liter engines during operation, a metallic ringing occurs, caused by a weakening of the crosspiece of the exhaust manifold exhaust pipe. The problem is solved by a simple welding of the collector. Please note that in Ukraine there are gasoline modifications that do not have a replaceable fine fuel filter. In order to avoid problems with fuel equipment, experts recommend installing the adapters offered as additional equipment. They allow you to include a conventional fuel filter in the system, set about 400 UAH. It is important to change the coolant in a timely manner, otherwise it leads to a loss of radiator tightness. All 307s are equipped with an onboard computer with a service function for monitoring the oil level and the timeliness of its replacement. Motorists advise not to believe the pointer. It often overestimates the amount of remaining oil. It is more reliable to check its level with the dipstick. In addition, the computer at the factory is programmed to change the lubricant after 20,000 kilometers. However, given the quality of our fuel, domestic experts strongly recommend having this interval, otherwise engine wear will accelerate. Moreover, at the service, you can even reflash the brain by setting a shorter oil change interval. We have 307s equipped with both mechanical and automatic gearboxes, although cars with mechanics still prevail. A characteristic weak point of both types of gearboxes is the axle shaft seals, which eventually lose their tightness. With a slight decrease in the oil level, the mechanics works without problems, but in the automatic, this leads to failure of the gearshift valves. The malfunction manifests itself in the improper functioning of the unit. The winter mode of operation or sport spontaneously turns on, gear shifting occurs with strong jerks, etc. Work and spare parts cost about 1,700 UAH. Moreover, in the machine, there is no usual dipstick for controlling the oil level, and at the service station this procedure is not too simple. To avoid unnecessary problems, including shortening the life of the axle shaft seals, experts advise installing engine compartment protection that protects the units from water and dirt. The oil in the mechanics is designed for the entire life of the unit, but in the automatic it must be changed every 30,000 kilometers. Moreover, it is recommended to fill in only synthetic oil SOATF 4HP20 AL4, LT71141. The use of other lubricants may damage the unit. The hydraulic clutch actuation usually works without problems, but the clutch itself, even with the normal driving style, walks only 80 to 90,000 kilometers. Electric power steering provides good controllability, but on older machines it can be a source of problems. So, after a run of 100,000 kilometers, the steering rack spool often becomes unusable. To replace it, a complete disassembly of the steering wheel will be required, since it is located inside the rack. Repair, about 2,500 UAH. With an increase in mileage by another 100,000 kilometers, failure of the amplifier electric motor is not ruled out. In this case, you will have to change the electric pump assembly. The item costs about 4,000 UAH. Experts noticed that only special oil should be poured into the power steering system, SOATF transmission oil, the same as in the automatic. Tie rod ends can last 80 to 100,000 kilometers. Compared to its predecessor, the Peugeot 306, the designers have changed the chassis of the 307. Ahead, McPherson is still used, but at the rear, instead of a torsion bar suspension, a conventional semi-independent torsion beam was installed. In general, this had a positive effect on the reliability and durability of the chassis, but the suspension of the 307 became stiffer than that of the 306. The least, 20 to 30,000 kilometers, on our roads are anti-roll bar struts, spare part, 65 UAH for one piece, replacement, 72 UAH, and their bushings can last up to 100,000 kilometers. Silent blocks and ball bearings of the front levers walk for a long time, 80 to 100,000 kilometers. All consumables change separately from the levers. The elastic bands of the rear beam are able to retreat up to 150,000 kilometers. Domestic operating experience made it possible to identify the weaknesses of the Peugeot 307. Therefore, before buying this model, firstly, you should pay attention to unsuccessful modifications and initially do not focus on them. Secondly, it is advisable to purchase copies with a mileage of up to 100,000 kilometers, and then you still have a chance to enjoy financially easy communication with the Frenchman. And he is able to please not only with an expressive appearance, but also with convenience, functionality, good handling, and equipment.